Hollywood stunt professionals are prepared to do whatever it takes to get the job done. These experts accomplish seemingly impossible tasks.
Action.
Join us as we explore how trained professionals create spectacular movie scenes. Coming up, we'll learn how stunt drivers jumped a city bus for the chase thriller Speed. We'll travel to the Mojave Desert, where stunt experts and pyrotechnicians flip a bus loaded with bombs for Universal Soldier. Then, see how stuntmen run down the 700-foot face of the Hoover Dam. And we'll take a motorcycle ride at 14,000 feet. No matter how difficult the assignment, these stunt performers are willing to go the distance in their quest to deliver one-of-a-kind spectacles. Welcome to Hollywood's greatest stunts. When a movie calls for action, veteran stuntman Gary Himes knows how to deliver. A champion race car driver and avid motorcycle rider, Himes employs his mastery of moving vehicles in his stunt work.
When you're asked to do a stunt, you weigh out all the pros and cons, weigh out the risk factor and so forth. And then when it comes time to do it, it's just matter of fact. And it's the same way when you're racing. Once you assess the risk with that, you pretty much are dedicated, you've made up your mind, and you're going to go forth.
For the science fiction thriller The Terminator, Himes was one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's stunt doubles. Wearing a mask resembling Schwarzenegger, Himes was run over by a speeding truck and pulled himself along the rig's under chassis.
The timing on something like that's very critical. Seeing a 18-wheeler bear down at you, knowing that you only have 20 inches of clearance, and knowing that if your timing's off a little bit, that's the difference between having the truck go over the top of you or becoming a hood ornament.
They also have to be well aware that there's vehicles working.
During his 25-year career, Himes has worked on such action-packed films as Broken Arrow and Jurassic Park. And he has moved from performing stunts to planning them.
We have cameras set along the ramp here, looking up. What I'd like to do, I want to start the vehicles on Hoover to get up a little speed.
Himes was the stunt coordinator for the non-stop thriller Speed, starring Sandra Bullock. Over half of the movie's sequences are set on a bus that will blow up if its acceleration drops below 50 miles per hour.
Jack!
Stunt cars will be behind. If anything should happen whatsoever, those cars come to an immediate stop.
Speed was one of those scripts where when I received the first draft, I was very excited because it is nonstop action from beginning to end.
To shoot the onboard action, a fleet of 12 buses is used. In order to film certain scenes, several buses were rigged with special camera platforms. Others were gutted to blow up. And many underwent extensive body modifications for jump and crash sequences.
We put a 4x4 solid steel channel frame into it, quarter-inch steel plate behind the bumper, and everything was tied together, so it literally became a rolling battering ram at that point.
God, no!
Sandra Bullock will drive the bus in the movie, but the actual driving is done by stuntman Gil Combs, who is positioned on the top of the bus.
I thought, okay, this is gonna be nice. I get to sit, drive the bus for a couple of weeks. It's not as easy as it looks.
To ensure Combs has plenty of opportunity to rehearse, he practices maneuvering the rig at a nearby airport. No detail is left unplanned. Himes first stages all the action using toy vehicles. This scene requires the bus to careen onto a freeway on-ramp.
So you crash through 1, 2, 3 cars, Donna, like you talked about.
Safety meetings are held as well.
The rest of these cars on out, you should clear by quite a bit.
The stunt crew's preparation is evident. The stunt comes off without a hitch.
This is much better.
Himes' biggest challenge in speed will be executing the longest bus jump of his career.
It started out as like a little 6-foot jump. Jan de Bont, the director, he just wanted to see the wheels off the ground, and little by little it grew.
It has grown from 6 feet to a planned 100 feet and will take 2 months to pull off. The first step is finding the right location, an unfinished freeway in Los Angeles. Then, the scene is mapped out in a series of storyboards.
I'll get the initial storyboards, and as we progress through the sequence, I'll see something in it that we could maybe improve upon or change or what have you. Then they're distributed to everyone. So when we go out there, we're all trying to achieve the same illusion.
Himes has calculated that the bus will need a 3/4-mile running start to gain enough momentum to clear the jump. The chief concern is for the stunt driver, Joffrey Brown. Special harnesses will suspend Brown inside the bus to keep his spine from compressing upon impact. After weeks of rehearsal, the crew gathers for a safety meeting.
If for any reason the bus drops a wheel off this side or anything, I'm just going to yell, get out of there. Or actually, I'll just say, leave, leave, leave.
We always have to expect the unexpected. It could be human error, you could have a mechanical failure, and next thing you know, you have a 20,000-pound bus coming straight at you.
To ensure the stunt is covered from every angle, director Jan de Bont places several cameras along the jump ramp.
I just want to make sure that we have a safety person on every camera. There's 4-man cameras that I know of right now in the roadway. Okay?
With everybody in position, the bus is ready to roll.
Action, everybody, action!
The bus ended up jumping right around 102 feet downrange and was within 5 feet of where I said it would land.
Did you see the bus after we did it? The front end buckled up like that. If I'd been in the regular driver's seat, it probably would have broke my back.
With the aid of computer graphics, the bus appears to take flight over a 50-foot gap in the freeway. It was one of the most thrilling stunts in Gary Himes' career, and he knew it was a winner when he saw Speed in the theater.
You could just see the anticipation on everyone's face in the audience, and then when it landed on the other side, the entire theater broke out in applause.
Years of experience helped Himes and his crew steer this stunt to a spectacular finish. Coming up, an even rougher bus ride in Universal Soldier. And a race down the 700-foot face of Hoover Dam. Some stunts are unforgettable because they achieve what has never been done before. Others ignite the screen by mixing extreme action and pyrotechnics. The science fiction thriller Universal Soldier has plenty of both. One of the film's most ambitious stunts is being shot at the Hoover Dam in Boulder City, Nevada. While other productions have filmed on or around the giant structure, this is the first attempt to shoot a major action sequence along its 727-foot sheer vertical wall. Action stars Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme play half-human, half-robotic soldiers, able to handle almost any physical challenge. Their mission here requires a dizzying sprint down the dam's face.
Just the size of this man-made object is like, it's terrific. And it really astonishes you when you first get there, and I'm sure on film it's going to look even better.
Under the leadership of Vic Armstrong, a veteran of more than 200 films, the stuntmen must rappel the equivalent length of 3 ice hockey rinks without a foothold in sight.
Everybody should be back to the camera.
For this film, Armstrong is both the stunt coordinator and second unit director, a job that puts him in charge of filming the movie's action scenes.
It creates all sorts of problems when you're rappelling because the weight of the rope creates a braking effect, so you have to do several things to counteract that.
Stuntman Mark Stefanich, a former Navy SEAL, doubles for Van Damme, and former race car driver Jeff Jensen doubles Lundgren. Rappelling is most often done face up, but to create the impression of running, Jensen and Stefanich must rappel the wall Australian style, face down. To achieve this gravity-defying stunt, more than 700 feet of rope is needed. This requires meticulous preparation.
With this steep of a rappel, the weight of the rope really comes into play. So what we've come up with is we tie off, you loop the rope about halfway down, bring the rest back up, and S-spool it, which is what they're doing there.
In order to run down the wall, the rope is anchored to a truck, then looped through a descender, which hooks onto Jensen's back. This slide system allows the stuntmen to gain momentum and not break their stride.
Okay, Robert, I'm putting on my gloves now. I'm very close.
During a test run, Jensen's line snags on a nail protruding from the wall,
Stuck halfway down.
stranding him precariously for half an hour. To free Jensen, Stefanich rappels down and unhooks the tangled line. While the movie's director Roland Emmerich reviews the footage,
And roll camera!
Rolling.
the crew gets ready to try again.
And action!
Tell me when you're ready.
Okay, we're ready.
You take your own action cue.
We're ready.
Ready.
Okay, there he goes. There he goes. Then is the line clear?
Yeah.
Okay, no snags yet.
Yeah.
They're both in the clear. Here they go.
After several attempts, Jensen and Stefanich finally master the run, resulting in a one-of-a-kind movie scene.
That was pretty exciting, because that was one of those deals that if it didn't go right, there's not a lot of things you can do about it. You're going to get killed.
A few days later, on the majestic rim of the Grand Canyon, Armstrong and his stunt team face a different kind of danger. They're here to shoot the film's climactic scene, a death race between Van Damme and Lundgren.
It's very dangerous. You're dealing with explosives and velocity. Every precaution's been taken.
Flipping a 7-ton bus takes pyrotechnic specialists weeks of planning.
Okay, now. Whoa. Lovely. Good.
2 cannons loaded with gunpowder, dynamite, and sections of telephone pole are attached to the bus's underbelly. Once these cannons are triggered, the force of the explosion will project the poles into the ground, causing the bus to flip onto its side and roll.
Better speed, better position.
Veteran stuntman Bobby Orison will drive the bus. A steel roll cage was built inside the vehicle to protect him during impact. As Orison barrels through the desert at 50 miles per hour, he has to detonate the cannons with a foot pedal while whipping the bus into a sharp turn. Making Orison's timing even more critical is this truck, which tailgates the bus. Andy Armstrong, an experienced stuntman and Vic Armstrong's brother, is handling the rig. His years as a race car driver help him work in tandem with Orison.
If Bobby wants to turn the bus over at a very high speed, I can't stop very quickly in this. And so the only risk that we have is that I'll slide into him after he's turned over.
To cover the stunt from multiple angles, Armstrong camouflages 5 cameras in the desert sand.
This one could get wasted. It's in a special crash box, as is the one buried in the road and another one over there.
At the final safety meeting, Armstrong reviews every step of the scene.
We'll all be on radios. The boys at the other end will tell us when Bobby's strapped in and they're going hot. Before they go hot, they have to turn off their radios so we don't get any radio frequency just in case it triggers the bomb.
With everybody in place, the cameras are finally ready to roll.
High noon.
Armstrong raises a red flag, the cue for the bus and truck to begin their chase.
Perfect, perfect. And cut it! It's all right. Wait. Keep it up. All right? Okay. Good. Perfect. Go right under the right position.
Now let's get him out of there. Anybody on Channel 1 who's listening, he's
Coming out the back.
Very nice. Could not be better. All right, Bob.
Remarkably, Orison guided the seemingly out-of-control bus to a picture-perfect stop.
I'm thrilled. Because these things can obviously, there's so many variables, you can have all sorts of problems happen. You see the camera positions, it went right across one camera, stopped 6 inches from the other.
But the action isn't over. For the sequence to be complete, Andy Armstrong rams the overturned bus across the desert floor. The final crash into the canyon is achieved using models on a miniature set. Vic Armstrong and his crew have executed a truly grand finale. When edited together, it's clear that these stunt pros know how to deliver spectacular action scenes with impeccable timing. Up next, learn how a stuntwoman prepares to go up in flames. And witness one of cinema's earliest full-body burns. It takes a special kind of training and courage to be willingly set on fire. That fact was never more true than in the 1973 science fiction fantasy Westworld. A robot cowboy is set ablaze by the film's hero, played by Richard Benjamin. Veteran stuntman and stunt coordinator Dick Zeiker doubled actor Yul Brynner in the film. Zeiker's work has appeared in more than 60 films and television shows, including National Lampoon's Vacation and Clear and Present Danger.
In those days, not too many people did full burns, myself, Ronnie Rondell, Buddy Joe Hooker, a couple of other guys, and so it was kind of a big deal.
Zeiker's protection for the Westworld full-body burn included an asbestos suit and helmet. Movement was limited due to the bulky clothing, but the result is still spectacular.
That's as good as it gets because, you know, that's one of the most dangerous stunts that we do. And there's a lot of preparation getting ready for it. It's like a bullfighter, you know, putting on his suit of lights, you know, and then by the time they finally burn you, your adrenaline's so high that when it's over with, it's just as happy as you could possibly be.
So loud speech from each camera, please.
Fire protection technology has advanced so far since the early 70s that it is now possible to do a completely realistic burn without the bulky asbestos suits and helmets. On location in Queensland, Australia, director Bruce Beresford is filming Paradise Road, a World War II drama starring Glenn Close. This scene takes place in a Japanese prisoner of war camp where a Chinese woman, played by Pauline Chan, is doused with gasoline and burned alive.
They're shooting straight across here, this is the background.
The man in charge of making the stunt as safe as possible is Glenn Boswell, one of the most respected stunt coordinators in Australia. Boswell's work has been featured in such films as The Road Warrior and The Island of Dr. Moreau. The full-body burn will be performed by stuntwoman Bernadette Van Guyen.
Louis is where that other fire extinguisher is. Right. And Ricky...
To make the shot realistic, the burn will be performed with minimal protection and no breathing apparatus.
Where will I be lit from?
You'll be stand. This is cut here. Okay. We'll just throw the match down there, and then that just.
Oh, got you.
Night. The stunt woman was unable to get up and move around, which would help keep the flame off her face. Our main concern, because she was not on a breathing apparatus, was her breathing in the flame and causing damage to her mouth or throat or lungs. You got your gear.
The stunt crew has one last meeting before dressing Van Guyen for the burn.
Yeah, I'm just doing it. We assume she's got a hot spot, which gives us a cue. Go in there, hit CO2, got some ice back up to fix you up. The first thing you probably want to do is be able to get your hood off so you get some air.
And just so that you guys know again, you know, when I go down, I will attempt, if I can, to do some twitching.
Yep.
And that will be the banging.
With the legs and the arms, yeah. And if in doubt, put her out. Yeah. That's the easiest way if we've got a problem.
Outside, fire extinguishers are positioned for safety. While Van Guyen begins dressing in layers. She starts with an underlayer.
Okay, jump in there. And
she then puts on 2 layers of Nomex, a fireproof synthetic that has been soaking in refrigerated gel for 24 hours. Developed in Australia, the gel is mostly made up of water. The other ingredients that protect against burning comprise a closely guarded formula.
Hope you realise how expensive this is.
Van Guyen then steps into a padded bodysuit. The gel covers her face and hair.
Hope your watch is waterproof. I've just
A protective skull cap is pulled over her head. The final layer is her costume. Meanwhile, Boswell gathers the cast and crew to prepare them for what they're about to see.
We're actually going to burn a stunt woman. So I just want to let you know that's what we're doing. We're going to burn a stunt woman. We've got everything's taken care of, like safety, and we've got an ambulance standing by. What I just want to let you know is not to worry about, not to panic. Most of you probably haven't seen anything like this before. It is quite horrific and quite scary.
Now, the stunt crew must act quickly. The protective gel loses its effectiveness as it warms up.
The stunt performer doesn't really have a feeling of fear at the time prior to being set on fire. She's concentrating so much on doing the right thing for the action, for the director, for myself, and for the production that she's gone past that fear.
Just before filming, Van Guyen is painted with an alcohol-based fuel.
Cameras. Speed A. Speed B. Okay, and action.
Courage, experience, and careful preparation have enabled Bernadette Van Guyen and her crew to give director Bruce Beresford exactly what he wants.
Oh, gee. God. God.
Oh, that's fantastic.
An intensely realistic full-body burn that drives home the horror of this World War II story. Still to come, a stunt specialist whose work with fire defies the imagination. Stunt professionals employ pyrotechnics in a wide variety of stunts, but igniting the human body takes a unique set of skills. Tony Caesar is one of Hollywood's leading fire stunt specialists. Regarded as a master of cinematic burns, Caesar has appeared in scores of films, including Ghostbusters, Rambo: First Blood, and The Terminator. Doubling for the burning Arnold Schwarzenegger in The Terminator was one of Caesar's most daring performances.
When they lit me up on fire and then they lit the truck up on fire, all of a sudden I had a wall between me and where I was going to go, and I only had one choice. I had to go through the wall of fire in order to get out of the semi.
Caesar got his start as a fire stunt pro on the television show The Incredible Hulk. Since then, he has executed over 200 full-body burns and has perfected ways to protect himself.
What you really have to do is stay away from the tips of the flames. That's where most of the heat is at. That's why most of the people you see on fire are moving.
In order to deliver spectacular fire stunts, Caesar utilizes a technique that helps improve the quality of body burns. By using fire retardant gel, Caesar is able to burn longer with less protection. Clothes soaked in the gel allow Caesar to burn up to 45 seconds, freeing him from the layers of heavy wool and asbestos he had previously worn.
It's all made out of wool, which I don't use anymore.
When heated, the gel works by converting into steam, which is released through vents in Caesar's clothing.
If the fire were on you for a prolonged period of time, the gel would evaporate and you would burn underneath the gel. It's just knowing how far you can push that.
Even with Caesar's skin directly exposed to the flame, the gel protects him as long as he remains in motion. Every fire stunt takes courage and calculation. Caesar's exit from a blazing car in the action film The Soldier earned praise for its realism.
We had to put the burn off a couple of times because there were high winds, and I was going to be doing an open face burn, and your eyes are always vulnerable to the fire.
With more than 2 decades of experience, Caesar continues to look for innovative ways to light up the screen. For the fright film Bad Dreams, he did what many consider unfathomable, setting his head on fire.
You're totally blind. You can't see what's going on, and afterwards you see it and you say, wow, that was me on fire.
On the set of the horror thriller The Serpent and the Rainbow, Caesar rehearses each step he'll take once engulfed in flames. When his choreography is finalized, Caesar moves off stage and layers up for a full-body burn.
I say a prayer before I get ready to do it. It just kind of calms me. But there's still a certain amount of danger in it every time you do it.
A silicone mask will help keep the heat out, and a small tube will allow air in. But before he fires up, Caesar will have to take his last breath. An intake of scalding oxygen would char his lungs.
Okay, roll all cameras, give us a loud speed.
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 Quiet. Quiet, please. Rolling. One more time. Okay.
Tony, you ready? Action time!
After completing the stunt, Caesar signals to the safeties that he's still hot.
Everyone stay back, please.
With his head covered, Tony is unable to communicate with the crew. Caesar has written about the risks and rewards of fire stunt work in a book of memoirs called My Burning Desire.
Nerves, you're going to get a little nerves no matter how many times you do it, because it only takes a split second from the time you realize you're in trouble until you're burnt.
Tony Caesar has devoted his career to the art of working with fire, creating images that are truly unforgettable. When we come back, take a motorcycle ride 14,000 feet off the ground. High above the earth, skydiving specialists thrill audiences with imaginative airborne sequences. In this Taiwanese television commercial, aerial stunt expert B.J. Worth takes a high-altitude ride on a motor scooter as it plummets from 14,000 feet.
No one's ever done this thing before, and so it's a good challenge for us to take something, work from the ground floor up, and have the action be exactly what the director wants.
illustrations called storyboards lay out the commercial's imaginative sequences. Before attempting this complex stunt, the director goes over each step with Worth.
My actual target will be where this piece of grass is, right here.
Okay. So, actually, in my original story, I don't need you to ride on the scooter and then touch down gracefully.
Right.
A stunt like this is not only risky for the stuntman, but for the aerial cameraman. For certain sequences, Worth will jump off the bike after riding it 9,000 feet. The falling scooter is unpredictable. A projectile hurtling at 125 miles per hour could easily knock out Worth or aerial coordinator and cameraman Tom Sanders.
This stunt is like dealing with a cobra. It's out there waiting to strike, but, you know, we're ready to tame it. Both BJ and I are wearing automatic opening devices on our reserve parachute, so if either one of us or both of us were knocked unconscious, there's a very high probability our reserves are going to open automatically.
Though the commercial will last only 30 seconds, pulling it off requires weeks of preparation.
Okay.
Aerial riggers Mo Valletto, Jake Brake, and Jake Lombard carry out the critical preparations necessary to make this daring stunt successful.
Dead on. The biggest challenge in preparing for this stunt is trying to get the bike to fall the proper speed so the cameraman can film it. We can make it fall stable, but it might be going too fast. Let's see our alignment there, lift her up, see how it looks. In order to find the proper weight and balance, we found out where the center of gravity would be. Once we found that center point, then we had to balance that load. Looks pretty good. It's pretty good.
Got some good parts here, man.
To reduce the bike's weight, its engine, pistons, and gears are removed.
Okay, well, that should get rid of about what?
35 pounds.
About 35 pounds, I'd say, something like that.
Valletto then fills the tires with lead shot. Bottom heavy, the bike should fall straight down. But controlling the speed of the stunt will be critical. A small custom-made parachute known as a drogue is attached to the bike. Once inflated, the drogue will stabilize the rig and control its acceleration.
So we'll be able to disconnect this and put larger or smaller drogues on, add or subtract weight depending on what we need to do.
We make all our adjustments from right there. That'll work fine.
The first day of production is reserved for test jumps. As Sanders prepares himself for departure, Worth checks radio communication with the helicopter that will lift him on the bike to the starting altitude.
Test 1, 2, 3.
A final safety meeting allows the stunt team to review emergency procedures.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
1 minute.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Go.
Worth steadies himself on the ground. The liftoff is risky. Should anything go wrong with the copter before reaching 500 feet, Worth won't be high enough to open his chute.
If we lose an engine on the helicopter on takeoff, it's not a pretty scene because the pilot can't do a lot except come down and I'm underneath it. We lose about 3 or 4 degrees per 1,000 feet of altitude, and I've been jumping at 14,000 feet. So it gets very cold up there. My hands are pretty frozen, and I'm right out in the wind chill.
Inside the copter, Sanders waits for the signal to jump. He will shoot this scene with 2 cameras, one for film, one for video. Both of them are attached to his helmet, a unit that weighs 23 pounds. At 14,000 feet, Worth and the scooter are cut loose. Sanders races after them. With only 40 seconds of ride time in each free fall, he has to hurry. On this first jump, the scooter bucks so hard that it actually throws Worth off. Safeties wait for Worth and Sanders to land, but the first object they sight is the scooter falling to the ground.
3, 2, 1, and impact now.
12 scooters will be used and destroyed while filming this commercial. After landing, Worth, Sanders, and the aerial rigging crew review the fall on video and try to figure out how to improve the next jump.
It's one rocking ride, that's for sure. And so it was hard for Tom to get close and do the flybys he was supposed to do, because I was sort of like, you know, in the bar they used to have those bucking bulls you'd ride. Well, it was like riding one of those, and it started spinning real fast.
The weight and balance of the bike are adjusted, which should steady its descent. Hours later, Worth and Sanders are hoisted up for another run. This time, the bike is relatively stable. Wearing a specially designed jumpsuit with wings allows Sanders to steer himself around the bike, creating the illusion that Worth is flying past the camera. As for BJ, he's not just doing a stunt, he's also acting in the commercial.
The director wants me to pretend like I'm enjoying myself riding through the clouds as if I was Mary Poppins or something. So it's a little tricky to be relaxing and flying back and forth.
At 5,000 feet, an audible alarm goes off in Worth's helmet, telling him to roll off the bike. This is one of the most dangerous parts of the stunt. Both Worth and Sanders have to quickly fly away from the bike's trajectory. An aerial collision could be deadly. To complete the commercial, a separate shot is filmed of Worth riding the bike all the way to the ground. To support their combined weights, a larger tandem parachute is used. With remarkable balance and control, he brings the scooter to a feathery landing on his first try. The careful planning by Tom Sanders, the ingenuity of the aerial rigging crew, and the skillful execution by BJ Worth have paid off.
That was a wild ride.
Creating an amazing aerial achievement. Up next, one of Hollywood's earliest stuntmen goes over the edge. The idea of using stunt professionals in place of actors was first thought of by silent film star Larry Simone. Simone was famous for creating zany chase scenes in some of Hollywood's first big-budget films. He knew stunt pros could do this kind of work better than he could, so he would film himself for close-ups and then let the stuntmen do the more dangerous long shots. Then, as now, stunt men and women transcend the predictable to turn the what-if of someone's imagination into the wow of an appreciative audience.
I think stunt work is 90% preparation. If you haven't done your homework and you're not prepared, then it doesn't matter how good you are, it's not going to go right.
It's fantasy, you know it's fantasy what you're doing, so therefore you can get people excited, then I think you've done your job pretty good.
Their ultimate task is not accomplishing the impossible, but accomplishing the impossible safely.
If you don't follow the rules and you don't use common sense, you can get in big trouble. And so we're all very careful to check, double check, triple check everything we do.
Fire is still one of the most dangerous things in the movie industry. You break a leg, that'll mend. You get burned seriously and that never mends. So you always have to keep a great respect for fire.
What sets Hollywood stunt people apart is a combination of ingenuity, calculation, and courage.
We're always being asked to push the envelope. There's a line that I'm not willing to cross. I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing something that appears extremely dangerous on screen, but being clever enough to do it in such a way that it was really simple and safe.
Their work may be challenging, but for stunt pros, no other job compares.
I feel very, very lucky to be in a business with so many other professionals that I admire and that admire me, and I just think that we're probably the luckiest people in the world. I mean, we get paid very well to play. Even though it's very serious play, it's still play.
I've always looked forward to going to work in the morning. It's not only a job, it's a passion.
Through precise planning and unwavering determination, stunt professionals continue to deliver the thrilling action of Hollywood's greatest stunts. Coming up, a Western hero tackles a speeding train and a villain's final fall. The Old West, a mythic place in the American psyche, where everything is bigger than life, especially the action. Since the earliest days of movie making, Westerns have been built around heroes and their brave deeds. From barroom brawls to tests of strength and stamina. From expert work on horseback to fearless moves on speeding trains. Western stars and stunt people have kept audiences riveted to their seats.
Let it go!
In many Westerns, such as Stagecoach and Maverick, it's the runaway coach that creates the most exciting action. In this clip, from the 1950s television reality series You Asked For It, stuntwoman Donna Hall took viewers behind the scenes to reveal how the pros rescue a stagecoach. Hall used special step stirrups that enabled her to stand up in the saddle and jump onto the coach. To control the bolting horses, nearly invisible wires were strung from the horses to a driver hidden inside the stagecoach. The driver, whose vision was limited, needed a lot of muscle to keep rein on 4 galloping horses. And Hall needed all her reserves of strength and agility to pull off the stunt. Her timing had to be perfect. With its repertoire of daring feats, the Old West captivated the American imagination.
What's the matter, Jack? Scared?
We were getting Australia.
In the golden age of Westerns, the biggest box office draw was Gene Autry. The Texas native dreamed of making his mark in Western music, but it was on the big screen that he achieved his greatest fame. Autry became the first singing cowboy, but he proved to be much more versatile.
Are you all ready, Gene? All set.
At the beginning of his career, Autry sometimes used stunt doubles and special effects to make it seem that he was performing his own heroic maneuvers. But as time went on, he actually did perform many of his own stunts.
There was a lot of things that I didn't do. I didn't do turnovers, stagecoaches, wagons, and things like that. But a lot of the fast mounts, like a Crooper mount or maybe a running stirrup mount, I made those. And I did a lot of my own chases, and I did a lot of my own fights.
As his career progressed, Autry learned the secrets of how the pros make stunts, like screen fights, look real.
You can swing at a guy at a certain angle in the camera and never touch him, and it looks better than if you do hit him.
Before his movie career, Autry had been a telegraph agent, not a cowboy. But it wasn't long before he could ride like a pro. He soon mastered the running Crooper mount.
Ah, shucks, that's a cinch. I can do that.
Later, in a full-on horse-to-train transfer, he surprised the crew when he didn't stop to let his stunt double take over.
Well, when I got up to the engine, well, I reached over and I had to, it looked so easy that I just went ahead and transferred right on up on top of the water tank and the coal car, walked right down into the engine myself.
On several occasions, Autry used completed action sequences from earlier films to enhance his own movies. In the last roundup, Autry intercut a monumental cattle stampede from the famous western Arizona. Autry used an existing stunt most notably in his 1947 western Trail to San Antone, when he grappled with a wild horse. Rather than filming a new stunt, Autry reused an unforgettable scene performed years earlier by Yakima Canutt for the 1932 western Devil Horse. Whether they're chasing down bank robbers or rescuing a runaway wagon, Western stunt pioneers set the standards of bravery and brawn that took early movies to the pinnacle of excitement. Coming up, we'll watch a stunt woman brave a deadly inferno and meet the men who are carrying on the legend of martial artist Bruce Lee. A fiery shootout and a high fall. This double-duty stunt adds a thrilling climax to the hostage drama Dead Silence. The HBO action thriller stars Marlee Matlin and James Garner. The action is choreographed by Alison Reed, one of Canada's leading stuntwomen and a respected stunt coordinator. With 15 years' experience and more than 160 movies to her credit, Reed embodies the qualities of a true professional: courage, strength, and coordination.
It's all consuming. When I'm here, this is all I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about anything else. And it's a beautiful feeling when it goes right and everyone's happy and it's spectacular and no one got hurt.
Whether she's jumping over the back of a skidding car,
Excellent hit. Good, great hit there. Okay.
Brian, was she okay?
Now.
or flipping 2 tons of speeding metal, Reed is a seasoned professional.
Yeah, Ellie, all right. You didn't hurt my helmet, did you?
I got a good crack on the head. Let me tell you.
Like all stunt professionals, Reed knows that no matter how well prepared a performer is, the equipment is not always fail-safe. when a series of detonators misfired on the set of the crime-fighting fantasy Darkman 3. The flames left second-degree burns on her hands and face. A reminder that accidents do happen, even to professionals.
It just keeps you hyper-vigilant, thinking of every little detail. And when you do these things over and over again and you come through them okay, I think there's a tendency to get a little bit lax. But if you've had a couple of good wake-up calls, then you don't get that way, you know?
In dead silence, Reed doubles for Marley Matlin and coordinates all the stunts. On the set in Toronto, Reed works with stuntman Jamie Jones.
She's one of the best coordinators I've worked with. She's one good thing with Allison is she has done just about everything there is to do. She understands what you're talking about. She knows what you're thinking and feeling, and it runs real smooth that way.
In this double stunt, Jones, doubling the villain, will first run through a gauntlet of fire, then take a blind fall through a boarded-up window. Paramedics stand by in case anything goes wrong. To prepare for the fire, Jones is covered in non-flammable Nomex underwear.
We've got a dry top chain.
Have you got some of that spritz water?
His hands and face are covered with fire-retardant gel.
It's possible we could do it all in one. Have him on the staircase getting caught, coming down the stairs, and riding.
Really bad on the speeds, guys, okay?
There should be 3 of them, correct? 2. Okay, everybody ready to roll? Roll cameras. Speed. Speed. Stand by for a second. Action.
Today it was great. I didn't get hot. Everything was controlled. Everyone did their job, and we had a good stunt because of it.
Look at that caterpillar move he's got going.
The second part of the stunt, the fall, presents its own challenges and risks. Jones must plunge through 2 barriers, glass and boards, which can interfere with his ability to control where he lands. And he will have to break through backwards, so he won't be able to sight his landing.
You can't see where you're going, so the whole idea there is just to have enough air sense and just get enough power out the window so that you clear out far enough.
To prepare the set, carpenters install boards made of balsa wood, which have been pre-cut to fall apart at the slightest impact. Instead of windows, they use candy glass, clear panes made of spun sugar that easily shatter. Because this is a blind jump, the landing pad is larger than usual. Most high falls use giant airbags, but they require uninterrupted vision and a precise landing. Reed will use ordinary cardboard boxes stacked across a wide area.
The reason I chose to use boxes here is because he's blind, because he's taking a run at this through ball, so we didn't know exactly how far out he was going to go. An airbag, you want to hit dead center. I mean, there have been a couple of cases recently where stunt performers have caught the edge of a bag and been spit out, so I just felt the boxes were the right way to go here.
That's good right here.
Inside the warehouse, Jones gets his bearings. He'll need total concentration to get the fall right.
Oh, beautiful.
Finally, everything is ready for Jones' blind fall.
Turn over, please.
Speed. Action.
Action. Whenever you're ready, please.
Jones took the fall perfectly, but with more force than he planned.
That one actually hit pretty hard, but you have to power out through that and really be aggressive when you go through.
You didn't even get into that second layer.
It's all just feel. If you have a feel for that in the air, you'll usually do all right. Just good. Yeah, so I like that one. That one.
With the guidance of stunt coordinator Allison Reed, Jamie Jones has delivered a thrilling performance. His ability and concentration have taken him through fire and fall without a scratch. Next, Bruce Lee's legacy lives on in one of Hong Kong's hottest new martial arts directors. Action and tradition come together in martial arts movies, the heartbeat of Hong Kong's thriving film industry. The stunt men and women who perform these intricate fights must be as strong as professional athletes and as supple as ballet dancers. It wasn't until Bruce Lee entered the arena that martial arts films caught the attention of Western audiences. Bruce Lee was an American-born kung fu champion who developed his own unique style of fighting. He worked as a stuntman in Hong Kong for 2 years. Then he captivated Western audiences in the international thriller Fists of Fury. During his brief career, Lee was known for his discipline, his speed, and his agility. In the action thriller Enter the Dragon, he reached the height of his powers. In this scene, 8,000 mirrors showcased his striking dexterity. Lee starred in only 4 films before his early death, but they earned more than $50 million, an extraordinary figure in the 1970s. Today, one of the filmmakers continuing Bruce Lee's legacy is martial arts expert Tony Leung. Tony began his career as a stunt fighter for Lee.
Okay, first one is detective.
Today, he's directing and choreographing the stunts on his own movies. His most recent, the action mystery Blood Moon. It's the story of a drug-dealing serial killer who preys on cops.
Nobody move.
Tony's Hong Kong training has left an indelible imprint on his directing style.
But Tony really plans it carefully so that everyone in the movie has a specific style. In this movie, you have a kendo master, you've got a judo master, karate, kung fu, kickboxing. He's an incredible director.
Tony choreographs every move with a team of martial artists he has worked with for more than a decade. He then rehearses his actors. This is where Tony's years of experience as a stuntman and martial artist are most clearly seen.
The style he has me doing in this film is really acrobatic, so I'm like all over the scenery, all over the furniture, all over everything. So it should be fun. It should be fun.
Is it Chinese? Yeah. That's what the puzzle looks like.
Chuck Jeffries and Gary Daniels are actors and martial artists who play cops.
Action!
The fight begins when Daniels leaps through a kitchen window into the drug dealer's den. It's taken Daniels years of special workouts to adapt his fighting style to the movies.
Hit at the same time. This one, start. Yeah.
The control is very, very important. I would like hang a piece of paper up on a little chain and punch at it just enough to make it move without actually hitting it. Get close enough so the wind would make it move. Punching at curtains, punching at stuff like that develops a different kind of discipline than actually punching all the way through when you're fighting to knock somebody out.
Okay. From. You scared? You're the gun guys. Palm. Yes.
Is it good? Yeah, that's good. Martial artist Kennedy Morrison, who will take a hard kick in the back, puts on a protective body pad called a turtle.
May I please have quiet on the set? The stunt team has the set.
Already, go.
The crew installs breakaway glass in the kitchen window.
Once again, by the number. Actor coming through the window. Kicks another player. We roll. As soon as we call cut, they will give me thumbs up. If we get a thumbs up, we continue on. If we do not get a thumbs up, the medic goes in and only the medic.
To protect against shattering glass, the crew wears safety goggles.
Gary, you set? Roll A, roll B. B.
Good job. Did you guys get that on yours too?
Not completely satisfied with the timing, Tony calls for another take.
All right, here we go. Stand by, settle, and roll A, roll B.
Speed.
Action! Let's cut.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Oh man, that was bitchy.
The timing was perfect, so Tony moves on to the scene's gunfight. The crew carefully lays out the detonators and small capsules of gunpowder called squibs that explode like real bullet hits.
Listen up. 4 squibs in the sink. D65s? D63s. There'll be a little bit of a loud pop, and holes will be placed in the doorway. Stand by for rehearsal.
Already on the ground.
And
already.
rehearsing.
Ready. Action.
Bang, 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 bang.
Bang, 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 bang.
Bang, bang, bang.
Oh, too fast.
Set, sir. And
We're hot.
stand by. Pictures up. Ladies and gentlemen, fire in the hall. And roll A, roll B.
Action. Cut.
Cut.
When the cameras stop rolling, Daniels reveals that one squib exploded a bit too close.
You know, you've got to expect that in this kind of business. Yeah, you're going to take some bumps and bruises, and if you can't take that, then you really shouldn't be doing this kind of work.
When all the elements are put together, Tony has created a fight scene that's brutal as a street brawl and intricate as a dance. With strength and grace, these powerful athletes have carried the martial arts from Asia to the American screen. Coming up, Mel Gibson reveals how his stunt double used brains and guts to create the excitement of a great stunt. When movies reach for excitement, stunt experts can be found behind the scenes, designing greater thrills with safer techniques. As long as movies exist, stunt specialists will have an arena for their magic. An evolving art form that combines the peaks of physical power, agility, and courage.
The athletic ability of some of the younger kids coming in is immense. When I got in, it was mostly just athletes who kind of hate to use the phrase, fell into it, you know. And now the kids are really planning on it. These young guys have trained since they were kids, actually, to try to be stunt people, and they're very good.
No matter how talented the performer, it takes teamwork to make a stunt succeed. Mel Gibson knows that the stunt coordinator's job is as creative as any other on the movie crew.
He'll tell a story with a stunt. He'll give it a little light and shade, you know. He's a smart guy, which is like what it takes. You're gonna have the brains to do it, and then you're gonna have the guts to do it, you know. So it's a good mixture, you know?
After the work has been captured on film, what the stunt specialist has left is pride in a job well done.
When I finally got to see it, I really felt really proud. The lights came on after the end of the movie, and it's like no one knew who I was, but I knew who I was, you know. But I knew I had done it. It was good.
This is the thing about stunt work. The only time people really see you is when 100 million people go see the movie. They don't know who you are. Great. If you want to be an actor, be an actor. If you want to be a stunt man, don't expect accolades except on the set. Your peers know what you do. You get respect from an inner circle, and that's good enough. That's good enough.
In every successful stunt, the elements are the same. The knowledge and experience of a good stunt coordinator, combined with the courage, strength, and athletic skills of a dedicated stunt performer. Working together, they create the excitement of the movie's most thrilling moments to bring us Hollywood's greatest stunts.